Hi there, and welcome back to the Building My Freedom Business podcast. I'm your host, Erik, and today we have a very interesting guest. It's Gert Mellak. He is based in Spain, and he runs a business called SEO Leverage. I talked to Gert about his background journey, how he ended up becoming an entrepreneur, and also we take a deep dive into his business, SEO Leverage. Enjoy the interview. Hooray. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I want to welcome Gert to the Building My Freedom Business podcast. Gert, thank you so much for taking the time to spend time with me to talk about your business journey.
Thank you so much for having me, Erik.
Yeah, I'm very excited because I know a bit about your journey, and you are where I would like to be sort of in 2 years' time. But we'll go deeper into that in a bit. Let me think. Could you please tell the listeners something about a bit of a background story about your business, or not just about your business, more about you as an entrepreneur? Have you always worked for yourself? Did you work for other people? How did you? I mean, as a young kid, were you like that entrepreneurial kind of person? How did you end up where you are now? And tell us a little bit more about your business, SEOleverage.com.
Yeah, awesome. I started out working for other companies, and I think this was a very important part of my journey as well, to see how other businesses function. I was very focused early on at programming, technical IT, networks, hardware, software, really an IT freak, so to speak, if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Have been doing programming for more than 16 years.
Okay.
While I was studying, so I was focused very much on the technical level. Then I did translation interpretation studies because I really wanted to strengthen my language skills, and was really interested in something completely different after so many years in the tech side of things. But I was always working on my own projects. So I remember the first website I created, I think, was for the local chess club.
Yeah.
And I managed, probably sold it for like $50 or something like this. I was happy I could have this project. I did some work for the local town hall. I appreciate you reminding me of these things. I did some work for the local town hall on their website, and yeah, very soon got my first official website. It was like a $200, $300 gig, I think, and I was probably 16 years old or something like this back then. But I always had my own projects. But this didn't block me from going abroad, trying to find a job. I worked for a company in New York. I worked for a company, for 2 companies in Spain. So yeah. I'm from Austria originally, now based in Spain.
Yeah.
And I've been coming to Spain every summer for many, many years before I actually landed here, definitely.
Yeah.
Indefinitely. And yeah, even when I was working for other companies, I came home and was working on my own projects. So it was really important for me to kind of slowly build something up, and also leverage my skills for my own companies and for my own projects. And the companies where I worked in, I always pretty much manage my own projects. So it just came out that I can take care of a group of clients, or I can take care of a project. I don't need someone pushing me, motivating me, telling me exactly what I need to do. I just took ownership of the projects I was working on, and was working on driving them forward.
So, okay, do you remember the moment that you made that step, that decision to actually leave working for someone else and go full-time into your own project?
I think it was probably some sort of transition, because I was always having my own projects. I had very good role models, my brother, my cousin running their own companies in the marketing, in the online space. So for me, it was always clear I would land somewhere there. And even when I thought I was going to do translation interpretation, I was always focusing on being a freelance interpreter, freelance translator. So it was like a decision that it was just clear. It wasn't a moment where I said, no, this is not what I want, and this is not what I want. It was always very clear for me. I think it was always very independent when I was working on my project. So it was a very clear move.
Okay. So tell me a bit more about the business that you have now, SEO Leverage. How do you solve people's problems with SEO Leverage? I mean, it's about SEO, but can you give a bit of maybe an example how you help someone, how you solve their problems?
Absolutely. So SEO is search engine optimization. And what we essentially do is we help people who know that their business growth or their traffic to their website depends on Google. And this is pretty much every business these days. So whatever decision you make, you go to Google, find someone who can help you with this, find someone who can provide this product or service to you.
Yeah.
So we turn to Google these days for everything, which ultimately means that a good positioning on Google has a very big value. And there are a lot of companies who know exactly what their revenue is going to be based on where Google ranks them that day. So there is an entire industry trying to influence as much as possible this ranking.
Yeah.
Google obviously makes up their own mind. They want to make Google users happy. They want to provide them with the best search result. And I think they have succeeded because they very often, in most cases, do. But this also gives us a possibility to help our clients to present this result, present this content, present their website in a way that Google actually wants to rank them, because their website is going to provide the best user experience for their clients. Okay, so a typical project could be someone who wants to rank for a certain search term and say, look, I'm not coming up here on page 1. It's all my competitors. I can't find myself here on page 1. What can I do? They come to us. We usually audit their website first, take a 360-degree look at everything on their site, and come up with a strategy and say, look, from here, this is what you are missing to get there, or this is the gap between your competitors that are ranking and your site that's still not showing up on the first pages of Google. And on Google, it's really like this, they say this, the best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of Google, because nobody goes that far. We expect Google these days to have the perfect result on top of page 1. We might be scrolling down, but we do expect, and we also actually, there's a lot of trust involved. So we trust Google and brand enough to know what we want.
Yeah,
and this is where every ranking on page 2 or page 10 is useless.
Well, that was my question. I heard you mention pages in the beginning. You know, so if someone is on page 2, is that still worth it? Or would you say it's just page 1 is the place where you need to be?
The goal is page 1, and on page 1, position 1. And the rule is really, rule of thumb is that every position you gain on page 1 gives you like a 30% extra in traffic. Very roughly, with a lot of other components, but very roughly, every position on page 1 you can climb up is going to give you a 30% extra. Page 2, I very often tell my clients that this is like the 4th place on a race, where you are actually pretty good, but you don't get a medal, you don't get credits.
Yeah.
So page 2 is a good place to see what else can I do to make the jump. So apparently my site, my page, Google ranks pages, not entire websites. They rank a specific page. What can I do in order to make sure that this page is eligible for a page 1 ranking? And this is a very important point, because sometimes people think just because they created a good piece of content, maybe the best in the industry, it's automatically going to be something that Google wants to rank.
Okay. I have to say, the whole SEO stuff, I think you need to have a specific brain. And I'm grateful for guys and companies like yours, because my brain clearly is not meant to understand that process. And you know, I will, you know, once I get into the position to hand that over, I'll come and find you, Gert, because it sounds like you know what you're doing there. But
it would definitely be a pleasure to work on your side.
Yeah, just on a different note, you know, the name of this podcast is Building My Freedom Business. And I called it like that because I'm at a place in my life where I have given myself, since 2010, a business that basically gave me a job. You know, I was doing everything myself, and I've only just started now in the process of hiring the first VA and building the team. So if you hear the word freedom business, what does that mean to you? Or what is a freedom business in your eyes?
Team. And I'm going to explain why, and this is a little bit of a story probably. So I was very focused initially on programming, starting at 16, 17 years with my own project, had ongoing projects. I had a client for 16 years straight as a programmer, and then SEO as well. So I always was essentially, I knew exactly that if I spend 2 hours here, I can build 2 hours there.
Yeah.
And this is a really tricky position to be in, especially when you're young and you need the money.
Yeah.
You kind of say, okay, I could visit those friends, or I could spend 3 hours working.
Yeah.
I always had to really force myself not to think that way, but I know there are a lot of people out there that do. And especially if you're tight on money, there's no choice, right? You know, I have to be working because otherwise I don't earn money. And if I spend a day on a couch watching TV, I know this costs me 5 times, I don't know what you get per hour.
Yeah.
And this is what it cost me to watch 5 episodes of Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's a really tricky position to be in, right?
Yeah.
My wife could tell you stories about me working late at night. My wife could tell you stories about me getting up early and working at 4 a.m. because I knew I needed to finish it and everything depended on me. And if I can't sleep anyway, I could rather also be working.
Yeah.
So I went through this time. I think many solo entrepreneurs can relate. And I think it was at some point I said, look, it can't only be me, right? So I started asking back then a developer for help once in a while, and we were together working on some projects.
Yeah.
We were even able to leverage time zones. So he was working in Colombia.
Yeah.
I was working in Austria back then. So we tried to work on projects together. And during this experience, I then very quickly got a VA, a virtual assistant, who happened to be really an amazing person, an amazing help in my business. She's still working with us and carrying a lot of responsibility here. Because if you find the right person that just resonates with you and your way of doing business or complements parts you're not good at, it makes all the difference. And it makes all the difference once you try not to be operationally doing everything, because then I can have a coffee with a friend of mine to strengthen our relationship because he's got a business as well. We might not even talk about business, but we can focus on relationships because someone else is going to do the job I was always doing before. So team is just very, very essential.
All right, thanks for that. You as a person, what drives you? I mean, what drives you? What motivates you? What inspires you to drive your business forward? I mean, what is your why in life?
I think what has always been driving me was positive customer feedback.
Okay.
Right? So I'm kind of addicted to positive customer feedback, and if this feedback doesn't come, I try harder. And then this is what I've been trying to translate to our team. We're now more than 20 people as well. We want to make sure we know exactly why we are doing a task, why we are doing this business, why we help a client, why we send them an email, why this is important to make sure they understand. But ultimately, I always think of clients like case studies, right? So if I get to know a client, we were just onboarding a few clients, and I'm thinking about what this case study is going to look like. It's going to look like this client was in this position. They came to us. We helped them. We got their SEO momentum going. They are now much better off than they were. And we have got some amazing case studies from people who lost like 70% of their site traffic and essentially almost their business to now having like a 3x, 4x traffic than they had before the drop. There are amazing things happening. And once you have this relationship with people where they just so much appreciate what you're doing, I think this is probably what has been always driving me since I did my own projects on as a solo entrepreneur to now being more of a manager and CEO position. It's still driving me to just get them the best result possible.
All right, thanks for that. I mean, I can picture that even you move from doing a job towards building a team, that there is still that whole experience of building a team that creates quite a lot of I don't want to say tension, but there's so many new factors, I think, in the first year that you might have to get used to. Is that correct? Am I correct with that?
It's completely different. It's completely different. If you started, I think if I could start out, I very often think about if there was anything I would do differently. And obviously everything comes with a learning process, right?
Yeah.
But I think I would definitely try to have an assistant earlier and try not even to start doing things I'm not supposed to do when the business gets bigger. Obviously it's a money and resources question. Are you in a position to have someone really do this right from the start? And I built my websites, I built my marketing funnels, I built everything myself at the beginning.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it didn't work as well as when the team came in and they focused on this, because I was doing 1,000 things and they couldn't focus on the individual parts. So
Yeah.
starting to delegate or just say, okay, on from now, I'm not going to do anything anymore, which is operational, which is something next year someone else needs to be doing it. You just need to really have a hard stop at some point. It's okay, or look at my calendar and say, okay, what are the things I could actually ask someone else on the team to do, or get an external partner to take this over, and they are most likely even going to do a better job. So this is the transition, but I think it's still something I'm still working on, because I'm still doing things which I could probably delegate, and the more clients you have, the harder it gets to get around to doing those things.
Yeah.
So then the more important the delegation gets, right? But sometimes, and I have just heard the other day from an entrepreneur who said, like, I know how to do it, so I can even do it myself. Of course you can, right? And it's going to be exactly what you think it should be, but you're missing out on a whole lot of other ideas.
Yeah.
So we're just creating right now a YouTube channel. My team comes up with ideas I would have never thought of.
Yeah,
and
right.
they do their courses and they do their research, and I would have never thought of it, right? It would be, my videos would be boring SEO videos, but now we suddenly have a completely different approach, a system behind it, and a scalable way of doing this.
And I assume that as you grow with your team, you get to trust each other more, and you get to understand each other's abilities and skill sets. And like in your team, they come up with how to get the YouTube videos out there in a better way. So I mean, I like that. That's an interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So being an entrepreneur can just eat a lot of energy out of you. I mean, you know, often our businesses are our babies. You know, we are passionate about them. How do you recharge? How do you get new inspiration and new passion? I mean, some people read books, some people listen to podcasts, some people do meditation. What does Gert do other than your business to recharge?
I'm not too much of a meditation person, at least now. I do obviously read, I listen to podcasts. I reach out really with my kids, my family. So I have time blocked in my calendar for my family. Usually weekends, unless there's like really busy time and I need to catch up. Usually weekends are off. Usually afternoons are off. I do have some evening calls with people from the United States based on the time zone. Yeah. But usually it's really, I think, family time, because when you have kids, they just don't care if you have had a stressful day or are tired or whatever. Once they have you, they don't let you go. So I think this is probably a moment at least to reach out, disconnect. Yeah. At least I think. And then I really enjoy if I have some time really for myself, or sometimes I really take this out of my schedule, do some woodworking, get something more tangible. We're always in the virtual space. I'm always talking with clients, with prospects, with partners, with podcasters, etc. So this is some quiet time then where I just try to build something, and something you can touch, something you can really do something with it. And it's just, I think, really a way for me to kind of do something else, focus on something else. So when you listen to podcasts or read books, are they like business orientated, or are you saying they're actually something else? No, it's all business. Yeah. So it's really all business, marketing. I think there is a woodworking podcast to listen. I listen to just for a change once in a while, but there's not a huge bunch of hours I have available for listening to podcasts, right? So usually I listen to podcasts not because I don't know what to do, or just because I like listening to podcasts. I listen to a podcast because I found it somewhere, and I want to know what this person is saying, and I want to know if with what I learned from this podcast, I can enhance my business, my processes, my SEO services, or whatever. So I usually listen to those based on the topic. I don't just listen to the next podcast and the next and the next. So I've got like 50 subscriptions, but I don't listen to them just because they come out. I listen to a specific episode. Yeah, good. You sound like someone who has quite a bit of experience in now, you know, building this team. You're interviewing for more people. I'm looking for some advice for someone like me. You know, I'm just at that beginning stage of, you know, or even someone who's just before me who is in this job position, which they call a business, and they know that they need to start building develop a team. What would you, if you have any bit of advice or
if I would ask you, what are the ingredients or the important elements? I mean, you've mentioned team, and that is possibly the biggest one. But is there anything else that you can think of, or how does someone even start, finding a VA and stuff like that? I mean, any bit of advice for someone who's at that beginning point, questioning, how do I now get started in moving from a job to actually building a proper business?
Right. I think that's an excellent question. Everybody's going to answer this differently. In my case, I think what was an important learning for me was patience and consistency. So I'm not too fit because I don't go to the gym regularly.
Yeah.
Right. I do have the right focus on the business. Thanks to coaching, thanks to big shout out to James Schramko here at this point, who really kind of brought me or showed me what it really means to consistently actually really execute, not only consume content and read books, etc., but also really execute on them.
Yeah.
So consistency is definitely important. I can't expect results in the gym if I don't go there frequently and work out, or if I go there and then I eat chocolate and whatever at home and I don't focus on my diet. You can't be half pregnant. You need to go all in.
Absolutely.
Right? You can't have your job like business and say, I should be growing, but you don't really focus on it, right? Or I should get more clients, or you don't focus on consulting. So you need to be consistent. And the second thing is patience. Things take a lot of time. There was a saying, I couldn't credit anybody specifically, but there was a saying that a business takes 1,000 days, roughly 3 years, right? So roughly 3 years. And if you have this perspective, a marketing campaign you launch today doesn't need to bring a client.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, depending on what business you're in, clients might take 6, 8 months, sometimes years to make their decision. We're in touch. We have now clients that have been following our content and our brand, etc., even when it was called differently before.
Yeah.
Or clients that had seen me years ago.
Yeah.
And we're on a podcast ahead about fitness marketing at some point, for example.
Yeah.
And nowadays they know, you have got a certain SEO leverage. Now let's see if you can do something for SEO for me. We have a client who I was programming for years ago, who just reached out to us for SEO help now. So relationships develop, and relationships take a lot of time. And whoever you impact today with your message is not necessarily going to make a decision in the next 2 months. Yeah. But maybe it takes years, but it still makes that the impacting them today was suitable, was necessary.
Yeah.
Right. So what we see and what I have done a lot of times, and I spent a lot of money on this for nothing, was just shoot out some messaging and then wait. And now I need to have at least 1 or 2 clients after this campaign.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work this way. People need a lot of time and a lot of trust and really start to like you, start to get to know you. And this is where podcasting is just really a good medium here.
All right. Thanks for that. SEO leverage. What's your end game? Where would you like to see yourself go with SEO leverage?
I think we're definitely going to grow quite a bit. So we have been growing very fast. We have been getting better and better results. We have probably one of the best site audits out there as a product, and we've really refined. And also our ongoing consulting is based on a framework we developed that really works for clients. So I think we have a lot of growth ahead of us, a lot of team growth. So maybe we're looking at, instead of 20, we're looking at 40 or 60 people at some point. And then we see what this actually does. Right now, the trend definitely tells us that we have quite a journey to go. And I definitely want to be get more and more better with the team, strengthen the relationship with the individual team members. Because once these are relationships, they really rely on you. You can rely on them. You know exactly that even if it's late for them, they are going to put in the work to make this happen for our clients, which ultimately is what keeps our clients around. We're in a position where hardly anybody cancels. Yeah. They renew month after month. We don't have any long-term contracts. And we are in this position because the entire team tries to get the best result on every single task we work for them.
Okay, so end game is basically growing, making
game right now is absolutely growing and refining the product to just serve our clients better in all kinds of ways.
All right. You know, we got connected because we both are part of the super fast business community run by James Schramko. You already mentioned him. Being part of that community, I know that you're also partnering with him, as far as I understand. tell me, how has it been beneficial for you to be partnering with someone like James, or being part of the community of Superfast Business?
Superfast Business is an amazing community because you've got amazing people in there, right? So people that you might not have access to usually because they are busy. These are successful entrepreneurs. They really get it. They really know you need to invest to get good stuff. You can find experts for pretty much everything, I guess, in this community. And just to reach out, to someone about how to onboard new clients with a software tool, and you find someone, right? Or James puts you in touch with someone. So it's just an amazing community. It's not the same as joining a Facebook group. You don't really know who is in there, and there might be 5,000 people or even more. You don't have a direct contact. But here you have not only the community, obviously, and then you have got James, who really is in there every single day. Tell me someone at James' level who every day logs into a forum, into a community, and answers questions based on his vast experience. So this is definitely for me the key point why I'm in there and why I'm continuing to be in there. And then obviously James coaching and help streamlining processes, showing you what else you could be doing and you're not doing, and whenever you think you're pretty much doing whatever is possible, he just blows your mind again and says, look, what about this? What about that? You haven't thought about that one. So it's just an ongoing challenge, and you kind of want to get closer and closer to a level where you can really talk about, like you say, freedom and a business that just works like a clockwork. But with enough guidance, right? So I never was dreaming of a business that works completely without me. What I most love about my job is talking to clients and developing their strategies. But definitely I can only talk to many clients if the business behind me works and the processes work smoothly and the team takes care of a lot of the operational stuff. Yeah,
well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, in 2013 was the first time I joined that community. But then it was just a big community, and like you said, some things that you sow the seeds now and things grow later, and it took me till the beginning of this year when I made the decision to actually join the sort of a more intensive coaching group, and it's been incredible. So and that's how we got connected, and I really appreciate you for your time. Kind of last question, did I miss a question? Is there any question that you think, man, I wish that I could have told Erik about this, or the listeners about this? Anything that pops up?
Probably what could be interesting is to find a framework for what you want to do that just works for you. So we, for example, in our case, we have developed a framework to work on SEO. We call this Erika. We published a book about it, just explained how we think SEO should be approached. And I think this can be translated to every business. If you find a framework and say, okay, this is just how I like to do things. You find a name for this framework, you find a methodology for this framework. I think this enables you to do a lot more things, keeps you focused, keeps the entire team focused. Everybody knows that this is our method. This is like our master plan, if you want. Within this, you have a lot of flexibility then. But at least you have like this North Star where you say, okay, we develop this framework further, and this is the framework we always talk about, and this just sets us aside because competitors might not have this framework, or if they have one, it's called differently. So you might be in a niche where everybody's doing pretty much a similar service or offering a similar service, but you're in a completely different position because your baby has a name, your baby has a methodology, and this can be replicated and shows you have a framework and proven results. This is a very compelling offer. So if you have like a methodology you can name and develop as like a guidance or flagship program if you want, I think this is definitely something very helpful, and I wish I would have done this years ago.
So you mentioned the book. What's the title of the book?
The title is The Erika Framework. It's for free, available on our website if anybody's interested in learning more about SEO. It's also on Amazon as a Kindle version or paperback if you want. But it's essentially just explains our approach to SEO, which is a little bit different than I think most agencies approach it.
And when you say our website, I assume that is SEOleverage.com?
.com, exactly. SEOleverage.com.
Okay. So that is where people can go if they want to learn more about your business, your services, about the book. is there any other place that if people want to reach out to you or communicate where they could?
I can be found on social media usually, so Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, with my name, Gert Mellak. And otherwise, SEO Leverage, there's definitely there are email links there. Just send me an email. Good. And we get in touch.
Gert, thank you so much for your time, for your knowledge, and I appreciate you. And we'll run into each other somewhere on the coaching forums. But I wish you a really good day, and
Absolutely.
speak to you another time. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Erik.
You're welcome. Hi there. I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was so interesting listening to Gert and hear about his journey and his passion for SEO. And I would highly recommend that if you want someone for your business to work with you on SEO in your business, that to contact him at seoleverage.com. So tomorrow's guest, which will be Thursday the 19th, his name is Ray Blakeney, and Ray Blakeney runs a 7-figure business, which he started many years ago with his wife. And it's a business teaching languages. And his business is called livelingua.com. And there are, there are 7 different languages. He has 150 tutors all over the world. So you can picture what an organization that must be. And at the end of our interview, he tells me about a new business that he has started. And if you are a podcaster and you're looking to find an easy way to get on other people's podcasts, almost like automatically, then listen to this episode, because at the end, he will reveal his new business where this basically happens. You can sign up and it will automatically help you to find places where you can become a guest on someone's podcast. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.